Good. All right. So yesterday we learned this Sikha of the Rebbe, last 2 days, the importance of the holiday, the commandment of Shemitah. What is the commandment of Shemitah? Like it says in this week's Torah portion, 6 years the farmers in Israel, it's only done in Israel, work on the land, and on the 7th year they make a Shemitah. They rest the land. The land does, you don't work on the land. You can't harvest, you can't grow, you can't plant, you can't plow on the land. Good, a commandment, the 613 commandments, this is one of the commandments. Says the Rebbe, it's not just one of the commandments. It's true it's one of the commandments, but this is like the ideal example of what the commandments are. And that's hinted at by the first couple sentences in this week's Torah portion. What does it say? That God spoke to Moses and Mount Sinai, Bahar means the mount. And this is what he said. When you come to the land of Israel, you have to let the land rest. 6 years you should work, the 7th year you should rest. That's it. But that's what God said on Mount Sinai, just that. He said, because this is the general example of what a commandment really is. That's what the ideal commandment. How is that the ideal commandment? Why? Says the Rebbe, because what's the whole idea of the commandments? The whole idea of the commandments is that God should be revealed in the world. In other words, we should reveal that the world is really above the world. The world is this miraculous creation of God. God revealed in the world, like the Holy of Holies should be revealed everywhere. In Chicago, when it was in San Francisco, lowest of the lows, revealing the highest of the highs, because it's all from God. And so automatically, the lowest of the lows won't be low anymore. It won't be low. Everyone will be themselves. They'll use all of their talents, all their potentials. And the world will be the same world, but it'll just work in a healthy way according to what God wants and in a miraculous way. So that's the thing of Shemitah, the whole of Shemitah, that's generally all the commandments, but Shemitah especially, why? That we have godliness and normal, mundane together. Godliness is in the fact that it's the 7th year. You're not allowed to work on the land. The land belongs totally to God. The land is the source of all of our food. It belongs totally to God. So the land that we're walking on and the food that we're eating, and we realize it's just miraculous. We're not doing anything to produce it. It's just coming from God. But on the same time, it's not like the regular Shabbat that comes once a week. Shabbat comes once a week. You have to close your business. You're not allowed to cook. You're not allowed to this. And the Shemitah is, the ground is holy, just like Shabbat every week. But everything else is normal. Everything, you can open your business, you can write letters, you can do anything, you can work on your computer, drive your car. You can do all these mundane things. So we have mundane and holy together. The Alter Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe says in the book the Tanya that when a person learns Torah and mitzvahs and prays, it has to be self-sacrifice. We did this yesterday, chapter 41. That a person does not think about any necessity of his body, only the letters of Torah and prayer, etc. Just like it should be like a person right before he dies, right? He's not thinking about the world. On the other hand, he says you should learn Torah. You have to be interested in the world. You have to understand the details of the Torah and the details of the commandments. And has to be, so are we supposed to be in the world? Of course, you have to learn the Torah. You have to understand. You have to give charity. You have to do the commandments, right? You have to be part of a minyan of praying people. You have to be normal in the world. And at the same time, you have to be totally out of the world, as though this is your last instant you're alive, and that you're not thinking at all about anything about the world. So are you supposed to think about the world or not to think about the world? Which one? So he answers the Rebbe both. How can it be? Thus says this means, as the Indian from command, the whole thing of the commandments is that we have to have both self-sacrifice. In other words, realize that everything we have belongs to God. Every second is just a miracle. Nothing belongs to me. I pay no attention to any details, just to God. A rois coming from goof, going out of all your body and your physical needs. Umetem to nu a gufa, and at the same time you have to do the commandments and all of the details, and including giving charity and being nice to people and etc. Hamshachas beligavul, which that means drawing unlimitedness into limit. What's wrong? What's wrong with this? Okay. Nor in stam mitzvahs is thus. I have a sign that pops up here saying something's wrong with my microphone. Okay. Nor, but in stam mitzvahs and regular mitzvahs, what does this mean? What does this mean? This is concealed and sealed. But in the Shemitah, this is revealed. Where do we have the power to do these two opposites at the same time? From Mount Sinai. The rabbis say that, tell me, I have a sign that pops up, says that my on the thing that says that my microphone is not working. Is that true? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Huh? No, can you hear me? No. Any messages? Can't hear me. All right, we'll see what happens. Yes. You're fine. Good. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. From Vanet, how can you have the power to do these two things, opposite things at the same time? This is not human. How can you be totally God and out of the world, and to be totally in the world and devoted to details at the same time? How can you do these two things? It says that the power comes from Mount Sinai. That's what it says in the beginning of our Torah portion. God spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, and what did he say? Keep the Shemitah year. 6 years you should work, 7 years, 7th year is Shemitah. The rabbis from Mount Sinai, the rabbis say that when God gave the Torah at Mount Sinai, it says that all of the mountains gathered together, and every mountain made their claims that the Torah should be given to them. There was Mount Tabor. This is the Mount Tabor said that it is the highest of all the mountains. The Torah deserves this, because er is the Hechsterberg. The Torah should be given on Mount Tabor. There's Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel said the Torah should be given on it, because it helped when in the splitting of the sea. That's what it says, Har Carmel, Mount Carmel. Said, the Eibishter, Canford, God said, both of you two mountains have good claims, but Lama Taratz Dun, for us, why are you arguing? Taratz Dun, Malashan Taratzu Din, why are you trying to influence my opinion? Der mit was Zayt Grois, the fact that you are great, or the fact that you have pure, you haven't Zayt Grois by Zich Zayt Balimur, the fact that you think that you're great and that it's coming to you, this is a blemish. Gavnunim, that means a gibein or dak. The mountains, it says that it means that that you're claiming it belongs to you. You two mountains, even though you have these wonderful good qualities, but still the fact that you're blowing your own trumpet, this is a lacking. This is a reason that I'm not going to pick you. Har Chamed Elokim, the Shifta, where do I desire Mount Sinai? I'm going to give it on Mount Sinai. Why? Because it's a mountain, but it's the lowest of all the mountains. Nidrika from Arabar. It's the lowest of all the mountains. And that's what God said. I love humility, therefore I'm going to give on Mount Sinai. It's the lowest of all the mountains. Says the Rebbe, this totally makes no sense. If the big thing is that lowness, and so God should have given the Torah in a valley, or at least in a straight line in the desert. What? Not on a mountain. And if the whole thing is that God wants a mountain, right? He did pick a mountain, so pick the highest mountain. What does he have to have a low mountain for? If God wants lowness, so give it in the Torah in a valley. If God wants a mountain, so take a high mountain. Nor the Indian is, but the whole thing is that the whole intention of the giving of the Torah is to unite two opposites. As Zolzan Gashmius, there should be the physical world, and you have to make from the physical world godliness. This is indicated by Mount Sinai. On one hand, it is a mountain, but on the other hand, in other words, it's physical. But on the other hand, it's the lowest of all the mountains. You have humility together with highness. And from them and from this, Bahar Sinai, this is gegeben geborn Yidden the Koach, and from this, from Mount Sinai, this gave the Jews the power to do Shemitah, which Shemitah is the general feeling that you should have when you're doing all the commandments. Or if Machen from Gashmis, namely to make from the physical world godliness. Und durchführen, by means of this, carrying out the intention of making for God a dwelling in the physical world. One minute, excuse me. Oh. So with this, we can also understand, which everywhere it says that Torah was given from Mount Sinai. Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai. Halacha la Moshe mi Sinai. Kol masha talmid vatik atzet nema la Moshe mi Sinai. It says that the Torah was given from Sinai. What do you mean it was given from Sinai? It was given from God. What do we care where it was given? Or say it was given by God on Sinai. Why does it always stress that the Torah was given Torah mi Sinai? Torah mi Sinai. The Torah came from Sinai. Right? The Torah came from the creator of the universe. Why does it always say in the language of the Talmud that the Torah was given from Sinai? And even more, in Plug, it's other places where it says the Torah is given from Sinai. At first glance, was is no geya the Indian from Sinai? Why is it so important that the Torah was given on Sinai? Let's move this over a little bit here. What do we care if the Torah was given on Sinai, where it was given? The main thing is that the Torah was given by God. Was areas which God Himself, He's everywhere. There's no place that's empty from God. Why are we saying that the Torah was given in this particular place? I mean, the fact is it was given, but that's incidental. That's not so important, right? Was is their deal? Why does it have to say the Torah was given on Sinai? According to this, haben gesagt, according to what we said previously, as Vetman is, verstehen, now we can understand. The Tachlis, the whole purpose of the Torah, is to unite two opposites together. Har means mountain. Umachech means low. Machen from Tachtoni, making from the world, which is represented by a mountain, a dwelling place for God, which means low, humility. Was does is their oiftu. That's the whole idea of the giving of the Torah. Nitnor oif them was the avos had Makayim gaven the ganzen Torah. It says that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they arrived at the laws of the Torah on their own. That they understood that there must be a purpose to creation, a purpose for their creation, why they're here. They understood that the purpose, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is to serve God, but they wanted to know how to do it. And somehow or other, through their determination and through their purity of soul, they came to the realization of what all the commandments are, and spiritually. So why do we have to give them Torah again on Mount Sinai? Let them just pass it down. That's all the other religions are based on that, right? That one or two people, they came to some great ideas or they had some inspiration or something, and they passed it down, and all the other religions work fine, right? They got billions of people. We have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They put all the founders of all the other religions in their small pocket. Why don't we have based Judaism on Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? What do we have to have this thing of Jews were in Egypt and they got out and they got the Torah on Mount Sinai and God spoke to everybody? What do you have to have that for? That's not in any other religion. All the other religions are succeeding. And Judaism is just scraping along, right? How many Jewish people are religious? Why not come to our senses? Let's drop this idea of Mount Sinai and just rely on Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Isn't that enough? Says the Rebbe. No way. What Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did, that makes them the founders of Judaism. They had self-sacrifice, and that's the essence of Judaism. But the Torah is something totally different. The Torah is the ability to change the world. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it says they did the whole Torah before it was given. Was das is doch the Inyan from Eino Mitzvah Vosa. They weren't commanded, but they did all the commandments. Nor oich oif the Sheva mitzvahs de Noach, even on the 7 Noahide commandments, unafilu oif the mitzvahs shenitztavu b'mara. The giving of the Torah was greater even than the 7 Noahide commandments, which that was given to Adam, and the 7th one was given to Noah. And there were also certain commandments that were given to the Jews at Mara before the giving of the Torah. Azoy state in Midrash Rabbah, it says in Midrash Rabbah that before the giving of the Torah, there was a decree that the heavens and the earth would never join together. The heavens, you wanted to be spiritual, you had to leave the world. You wanted to be physical, you had to forget about spirituality. The heavens were heavens to God, and the earth was given to man. As soon as God gave the Torah, what did he do? God brought godliness down into the world. He rescinded this decree, this wall that was between the spiritual and the physical. Uvibald, as the ganzen inyan, that the whole thing of the giving of the Torah was joining the spiritual and the physical, as therefore is Matan Torah, and Matan Torah was given on Mount Sinai. This united these two opposites. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they came spiritually to realize what the commandments were, and they did the commandments spiritually, but physically they couldn't change the world. And Mount Sinai, even simple people, simple Jews, they could change the whole world because they have the Torah. But Darfan Vera, that's the whole idea of Moshiach. When all the Jews, Moshiach is going to bring all the Jews back to do Torah and the commandments, and then the whole world is really going to change. Therefore, Vetka Seder, but Tanet, as Torah is given, Gavor, and Misin. Therefore, it's always stated that the Torah was given on Sinai, not from God. Of course, it was given, but Sinai. Why? And because I'm sorry. I made a mistake here. What's it? Why? Therefore, we constantly remind us that the Torah was given from Mount Sinai. Why? Because if someone makes a claim as via Zoiken ich verbinden, how can I possibly join two opposites together? As if somebody says, listen, if I want to be a religious Jew, I have to separate myself totally from the world. Or someone will say, if I want to have success in the world, then I have to separate myself totally from Torah. I can't join the two together. If someone says that, is we can sell that person from Sinai, that from Mount Sinai you have the power, the ability. In a domim, the nidracher from Alasugim. Why? Because what is Mount Sinai? Mount Sinai is just minerals. It's just dirt. If God revealed himself in dirt, had the Eibishter Ryan given, God gave from Fa'enekin Hafachim. If on a mountain, inanimate mountain, God could unite two opposites, right? The essence of God in the lowest of low is Hein Mikol, how much more so on a human being? A human being, a medaber, the hechster, the highest of all the 4 types of creation, right? There's mineral, plant, animal, human. For sure, a human certainly has the power to unite these two opposites and carry out the making God a dwelling in this physical world. It was making the whole world into a holy temple. As the Tachtonim, that the lowest worlds, that they should be a dwelling for God. Yud Aleph. The Fa'enekun, the unifying these two opposites, which happened on Mount Sinai, this is from Izdach, in the end from Hisnasus und Bittel. The two opposites is, on one hand, egotism, haughtiness, and total surrender at the same time. Azoivi, just like in the Torah, is doch yeder inyan bediuk. This just the same way as the Torah, everything is exact. Is oyser dem allgemeiner remez, beside the general hint that we just gave, namely uniting the upper and the lower, is in dem merumas. There's also an inyan from Einikin to unite opposites in the idea of egotism and surrender, humility. Vs darv sein, like it should be in a person which learns Torah and does the commandments. When in them we can see the etlicher anweisung, we can learn several lessons. Number one, receiving the Torah requires a Jew has to have two basic criteria. Number one, tokech v'hagba. You have to have what do you call assertiveness, and want to call it haughtiness, even egotism. Nit shem, not to be ashamed. For the amshen up spetteris, from those who try to shame you. Lowly itbayesh mipnei bnei adam. Do not be ashamed from people that try to shame you. Right? You're doing Torah. What are you doing? Oh, look, a Jew, a religious Jew. Is there anev in the beginning from Shulchan Aruch? Nit nispal. You should not be ashamed from anyone in the world that will have a negative effect on you doing Torah and the mitzvahs. You have to have a strongness in learning Torah and doing the commandments. I'll just say a very short story. I think I told the story, I don't know how many times, but I'll tell the story anyway. When I was just becoming religious, and this was 50 years ago, a little bit more, I lived in Ann Arbor, and I had been like a rock and roll singer and things like that. And little by little, I realized that this was wrong. So I sort of secluded myself in my room. And I got to the conclusion, and I learned these other religions, I got to the conclusion that all the other religions are false. And the Judaism is really right. And I'm a Jew. It indicates that the Judaism is true for me. I'm a Jew. So no, I have to do something Jewish. What do? I had absolutely no idea really what to do. I didn't have any tefillin. I knew there was such a thing. So I decided I'm going to put a kippah on my head. Oh, where's this? Where's the? Is this? Is the 1 minute? Excuse me 1 minute. 1 minute. Why is this? Huh? No, it's working. Why is the recorder not on? Let's just stop this 1 second. 1 second. Let me see what's going on here. Excuse me. And the video is off. Okay, now the video is on. I don't know how long this has been going on, but okay, let's go back to the class. Oh. Anyway, I wanted to put I was so, how do you say, influenced by what people thought. I had no idea that I was so tremendously influenced by what people thought. But in any case, I decided I'm going to put on a kippah on my head. And we're talking about this is a very super non-really leftist place. But I already left all my friends. I didn't have any. I went out into the middle. It was in the middle of the night. I waited till like 3 a.m. I went into this middle of this sort of intersection. It was the middle of the town. It was like 2 lanes each direction. Stood in the middle of the intersection. There was no cars whatsoever. There was only the traffic light. I looked here. I was sure there's no one around. I took kippah. I had this yarmulke. I put it on my head. I took my hand off. I looked around. I took it, put it back in ran back in my house. That was the beginning. I took my Judaism into the street. Right? Okay, it shows, I was very apprehensive that maybe somebody would see me. Who knows me? Who even cares? Says that's an essential ingredient of learning the Torah. An essential ingredient of learning the Torah is you have to have assertiveness, not to be afraid of people that say, think, or that you think might say, or whatever, disparaging or discouraging remarks. Number 2, at the same time, you have to have bittul. You have to be humble. Varum, because oyib gaiba Because if a person is an egotist, it says, Ein ani v'hu yochol lador. Wait for this. Right. It says that I and he cannot dwell together. A kli, the Torah, the whole vessel for Torah and the commandments is bittul, is humility. Nafshi kafar l'chaltiya, that you have to be surrendered to God and also to other people also. You don't have to be number one and have to be Mr. Big. In regarding Torah and the commandments, there you should be assertive. In regarding other things, you don't necessarily have to be. And this, God willing, we'll talk about more tomorrow. These two opposites, highness and lowness, how to put them both together. We're going to talk about more how to really institute this and actually do it. Okay, let's learn the Yom Yom. Sorry for all the technical interruptions that were today, but we made it. The Baal Shem Tov said, everything that you see, everything that you hear is an instruction for service and conduct and serving God. This is the idea of avodah, serving God. Namely what? To understand, it's one aspect, to understand and discern in everything that you see and everything that happens also, a way in which to serve the creator of the universe. How can I link everything up to God? What is God demanding from me? What message is he sending to me? Something that I have to do, how I have to improve myself, how I have to improve the world around me, in everything that I see or hear. Have a good day with Moshiach. Now, 3 o'clock, God willing, we're learning again the Chumash.